Hey you guys, what is up? I have another game from the same Battle Roads in Hot Springs, Arkansas. On the right we have a very familiar face to the channel, Mark Oliver. He's done some narrations with me. There have been plenty of games against him. And Mike G is on the left, and I've had a bunch of games I've played against him as well. Mike gets to go first in this one, and we see two very interesting decks right out the gate. Mike is playing a Zebstrika Mew Eels build, the goal being to use Zebstrika's Disconnect to lock your opponent out of trainers. Whereas Mark is playing a deck that has been popularized by Rockman on the Hay Trainer forums, and that is Garbodor and attackers. Specifically, the two attackers that Rockman and Mark Oliver are fond of are Registeel and Groudon. You can easily see the synergy there. Registeel spreads damage, and then Groudon does extra damage if there's already two damage counters on a Pokemon. So definitely some great synergy between those two. Also, fighting is just an amazing type in this format. And he also plays Stunfisk, we find out here. Stunfisk is just a really good quick attacker. 20 to the active and 20 to a bench Pokemon can be devastating, especially with Tynamos being really popular in the format. Just the ability to knock out a Tynamo and put pressure on another one can be game-breaking. So Mark is actually going to attach that Registeel though, and now he's going to play an N. Helping both players out a little bit, but we'll see really where both of these players go from here. It's really kind of an interesting matchup. I don't really know how this plays out, to be honest, in terms of just how this matchup really works. I assume that both these players are playing decks that can lock each other. Mark does play plenty of trainers, including his items, and then Mike uses an ability, actually two abilities really. Mew has an ability that lets him use other Pokemon's attacks, and then Electric, which I believe he does play a lighter line of Electric, I think like 3-3 or 3-2 or something like that, has his ability Dynamotor. So really whoever gets the lockup first presumably wins. And it kind of looks like it's going to be Mike that gets it over Mark, simply because, one, he went first, and both of these guys can lock turn 2, but we haven't seen a Trubbish hit the field, and Mike already looks like he's got that trainer lockup. So the question for Mark becomes, do you want to try and set up your Garbodors? Do you want the lock, or do you just want to use your attackers? Both are valid answers. There's a good chance you can break the lock fairly easily if you just keep KOing these Mews and Zebstrikas. But at the same time, you can't use catchers to stall and try and break the lock, as they're trainers. So it's really not obvious specifically how he can break the lock, other than just attacking everything. One way he could do it is try to target the Zebstrikas with triple laser. That could be very effective. The other thing to take into account here is that Mark is using Registeel, which is resistant to Psychic, which means that Mike is really seeing the biggest problem with Zebstrika has always been its 40 damage, and he's seeing that magnified. Only doing 20 a turn, chipping away at these Registeels is going to be brutal. However, you do get to lock your opponent out of trainers while still getting to play them yourself, which can be very effective. However, Mark hits a big energy here, being the DCE, and this is going to give him some really neat options. There are a lot of things that seem appealing to target on the field, and he targets a few of them that I thought were interesting. The Blitzel, the Tynamo, both of which I would have gone for, and I actually wouldn't have gone for the Mew. I would have actually gone for the Zebstrika myself, just personally. If you knock out that Zebstrika, Mew has nothing to copy. However, this way, Mark will speed up the rate at which he takes prizes. Really, in feasibly two more triple lasers, he will take 4 prizes. And we see, wow. Mike just discarded a lot of stuff, but he hit a Bouffalant, I think, which is a huge card to hit, as he benches that. Bouffalant card I'm a big fan of, does 60 damage for 3 energy, but it's actually 120 if you're attacking an EX. And now we see a little bit more of this battle start to pick up in speed, because Mark does take a triple laser KO after getting enhanced hammered and losing a DCE, and takes the first prize of this game. But it looks like Mike is probably going to be able to use another Gold Breaker and take out Mark's Registeel. Really put him under a lot of pressure. He doesn't have search cards for Pokemon because of the constant trainer lock, except he did use Gold Breaker last turn, so Mark did have a turn of trainers, as a sacrifice. So it's kind of interesting to see how this works out when he gets trainers, what he gets to do with those trainers. But so Mike is going to Dynamotor and get another energy on that Bouffalant, which is going to start to be scary for Mark. And it looks like I don't know why that just got discarded. Maybe I think he decided to keep the lockup, or maybe his attacking with the Rocky Helmet not attacking because he had Rocky Helmet knocked him out. Not really sure what happened there, to be honest. Seems like kind of a weird play. I know that Mike did take a lot of damage from those Rocky Helmet attacks. But we're going to see another triple laser, 30 to a Dynamo, or 30 to the Electric to KO it, and 30 to the Zebstrika, as well as the Emolga. You don't bother really attacking the Bouffalant simply because it has 20 damage reduction, so it's really not going to take much damage. And now we see a Level Ball, and we see Mike's going to grab a Sigilyph, which is a good card. I really like him, but it doesn't really work against Registeel, simply because Registeel has the ability to snipe. But he's going to KO the Registeel with the Bouffalant, actually. And now we're going to start to see some interesting plays. How Mark deals with having this ability to snipe for 20 is going to be really interesting. He also gets a Tool Down on his Trubbish, but it doesn't seem as relevant right now. Really, the big threats are that Bouffalant and a Stunfisk, funny enough. But Mark's going to Ultra Ball, and he's going to grab out Mewtwo, which is another strong card, especially with the DCE, against Bouffalant, too. So really, it's been a pretty interesting progression of these decks kind of playing, in ways that they normally don't. Both these decks ideally set up locks, and that seems to not be happening. And Mark's gonna hit the switch, and I think he has KO. He actually does 100 damage reduced by 20 due to the Boofer, which is still 80, which is enough to knock out that Bouffalant. So now it looks like Mike is kind of on his last legs here. Despite the lock, I feel like just Registeel being resistant and Mark hitting the double colorless when he did, and really Mike has squishy Pokemon. They're not very high HP Pokemon, and being able to just triple laser really just gives him a big advantage in this game. So we'll see a catcher here, maybe just to stall that Trubbish, but Mark is playing the Trubbish that have 60 HP and a 1 retreat cost. Thankfully, there are some 70 HP ones that have 2 retreat costs and would be a lot grosser to retreat in this situation. But Mark's going to hit the random receiver, or play the random receiver, hit the Juniper, which is really nice. And actually, just a ruling, in case you're wondering why Mark didn't shuffle his deck, if you play a random receiver and hit a Juniper as the first card, you are not required to shuffle your deck. I suppose that would be true of things like N as well, but just kind of a neat note. And we're going to see a Garbodor evolution, and that's going to block out the ability. Mark will be able to X-Ball, and that'll be the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you rate, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. There's a really interesting way to end it, the Garbodor drop, to block Sigilyph's ability, and then from there, Mark is allowed to X-Ball and KO that Sigilyph, and due to weakness, KOs it. So I hope you guys are enjoying this Battle Roads content, and there will be more of it to come later.